I want to welcome you to the Tara Palmeri Show, and I want to introduce my guest, Daniel Bates. He worked with me on the Broken Jeffrey Epstein podcast back in 2019 and 2020 during COVID. We were just combing through those Epstein files. The show was executive produced by Julie K. Brown, Adam McKay, and Adam Davidson. And it was a labor of love. We worked really closely with Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and we crisscrossed the country trying to find witnesses to corroborate their stories. And Daniel had been on the Epstein story for a while. He really understood Ghislaine Maxwell. And, when I saw this news that broke in the Wall Street Journal overnight, that they had found this book that the Department of Justice was holding onto a 50th birthday party book that was compiled by Ghislaine Maxwell for Jeffrey for his 50th birthday. And in it, there's a note from none other than President Donald Trump. Probably one of the reasons why he wouldn't want the Epstein files to be released, because of this kind of damaging information. When you were best buddies with somebody for 15 years at the height of their sex trafficking operation, you most certainly were looking the other way at the very least. And so, to condone that kind of behavior is obviously upsetting, but to almost celebrate it in the way that it seems from this card is even more disheartening. And, he denies the card, says he didn't write it, but I feel like I'm going to read it for everyone who's joined and has not actually read it themselves yet. So the note begins with, "There must be more to life than having everything." And Donald says, "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." Jeffrey says, "Nor will I, since I also know what it is." Donald says, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Jeffrey says, "Yes, we do, come to think of it." Donald says, "Enigmas never die, but have you noticed that?" Jeffrey says, "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." Trump says, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Now, this was written this is all typed out, in the shape of a woman's naked body and drawn in that infamous black
Sharpie.
that President Trump Sharpie that he likes to use. And then he signs his name where what would be a woman's pubic hair. And this is the note. And it's creepy and it's gross and it celebrates this perversion that Jeffrey Epstein has. And it really does further the notion that in some ways, President Trump, if he knew at the very least, he was an enabler. I don't know about you, but I've never interviewed a victim who was personally assaulted or raped by President Trump. Have you?
No. I've there's plenty of contact between Epstein and Trump. And I think the two men knew each other for 15 years, but I've never seen any suggestion of that in relation to Epstein.
Well, there were a few cases that were filed but then dropped.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, nothing substantial.
Yeah, they were filed and then they were dropped. We don't know why. But he was on the flight. He was on the Lolita Express, excuse me. He is in the Little Black Book more than 10 times for even Melania's number. They were very close friends, and
let's not forget the video as well. I think from 1990. I think it's from the 1990s of Trump and Epstein together at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump's pointing out girls, talking about how hot they are, and Epstein doubles over in laughter. I think NBC dug that out of their archives in 2019, and it shows. I think the link between that and this note, which Trump has just said it's BS, literally said it's BS. He's denied that he said that it's fake, and he's planning to sue the Wall Street Journal. But there does seem to be a commonality between the two, which is this, as Trump would put it, locker room talk. This kind of clubby boys room atmosphere. Where they're like, like the in jokes, oh, we all know what you're talking about.
Wait, that's our secret. That's our our. And that was exactly how, everyone seems to think that Epstein was so sophisticated in his plot. But what I understand is that he had young girls and beautiful women, and he brought men to his island, to his various properties. He made them feel comfortable. Ghislaine was part of this, right? This sort of open, raunchy behavior, this acceptance of this dehumanization, honestly, of young women. And that was a way of sort of having some blackmail on them. I mean, even from the correspondence between him and Jess Stanley, the banker who had to step down in disgrace, like they had this wink, wink, how is Snow White? And he's like, well, next time I want Belle and I'll be the Beast. And it's like they are in on this sort of coded joke
Yeah. Yeah, no,
about,
absolutely. Yeah, no, the thinly veiled language is something which is a commonality. You see with Jez Staley, the former chair of Barclays. Like the references to wine, Disney princesses. Oh, how Snow White.
Mhm.
Again, it's that that like clubby like locker room boys. Like they all know what they're talking about, but it's kind of like like guys laughing from their bellies. And it also, I think, reminded both of us of Epstein's 40th birthday. And I
Yeah.
think during your reporting, I think you uncovered that extraordinary poem that was read out at Epstein's 40th. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm actually going to play that for the listeners right now. So I did another podcast after it broke in Jeffrey Epstein. It was called Power the Maxwells, and it's a deep dive on Ghislaine Maxwell. So for everyone who wonders where did this woman come from, who openly bragged that her boyfriend, or the man that she wished was her boyfriend, a pedophile, that she had to procure 3 girls a day for, by the way, 3 girls per day. Why she would want to hang around with a guy like this, right? And brag about it. And she was so off the like over the top. And you found this in your reporting as well. I mean, she seemed posh. I mean, she went to all the best schools in London. Her father was Robert Maxwell, the press baron who owned the New York Daily News at one point and the Daily Mirror, major papers. He had a yacht called the Lady Ghislaine that he mysteriously died off of. I mean, this is another guy shrouded in mystery, thought of as being a Mossad agent, who may have introduced Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein. It's unclear. We've never really been
Hmm.
able to get down to the bottom of that, right? Have you been able to get down to the bottom of it?
I think I was going over my notes about this yesterday. I think there were conflicting reports. I think Stephen Hoffenberg, who was running this
Yeah,
crooked financial firm with Epstein in the 90s, said that Robert Maxwell introduced Ghislaine to
yeah.
Epstein, and Epstein helped to hide loads of Robert Maxwell's money. But others have said that it may have been a bit later. But there's this incredible photo shot at the Plaza Hotel in New York, like about less than 3 weeks after her father's death, where Ghislaine's like looking at Jeffrey like with hungry eyes, and like he's in a white tie, and that clearly is not their first meeting. So there seems to be a history there
Yeah.
before, and
He almost arranged this because, he had been robbing the pensions of the people that worked for him at the Daily
yeah.
Mirror. So I'm going to play the song that Ghislaine Maxwell asked a friend of hers, Christopher Mason, to write for Jeffrey as a gift on her behalf for the 40th birthday.
He wakes when the cock crows while everyone slumbers. He rivals Einstein when he's crunching those numbers. Taught math at Dalton, the naughty boy blushes to think of schoolgirls and all of their crushes.
Christopher says that Ghislaine specifically requested that he include lines about the schoolgirl crushes and Epstein's 24-hour erections.
It all seems so jolly, so creepy in retrospect.
Christopher didn't question the suspicious material at the time. He trusted Ghislaine. They were two countrymen abroad. Jeffrey Epstein was in the picture now, and Ghislaine was beginning to thrive again. She was continuing the great Maxwell family tradition of schmoozing. But that wasn't the case for her 6 siblings.
Yeah, so that was after her father's death, shortly after her father's death. I know, Norm is barfing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it is vomit inducing because it's like again, but listen to it, listen to how they talk. Listen, this is how these people talk behind closed doors. It's like ha 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 ha. Like it's all a joke. Like
mhm,
abusive schoolgirls is like fodder for a birthday poem. What the hell? Like,
yeah,
and then obviously Trump is denying he wrote that letter for Epstein's 50th, but when you hear him talk about, sort of, was it Wonderful Secrets or something like that? It's like it feels similar. It's like haha, we all know what we're talking about here, but like everyone's laughing around the dinner table. It's gross. It's really gross.
yeah. And that's where the whole compromise comes. And that's how Epstein operated. If
Mm.
I have a secret on you, He's not the greatest financier of all time. There
No,
was
he's a
no,
no, absolutely. No. I don't think he was a shrewd financier. I think he was a
no.
con man. I think he
Mm,
he conned Les Wexner. He conned millions and millions, tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions out of Les
yeah,
Wexner. He was a con man. You know, if he was maybe he was shrewd at like hiding money offshore and helping people dodge
yeah.
taxes, as Leon Black claims. You know, but I don't think there was he had ever had a sort of a legal day in his life, like and yeah, I don't yeah, I mean, but I agree with you, Tara. Like, you know, the FBI and the DOJ are saying there's no evidence he blackmailed people, but come on, like a guy like him who's a con man who knows how to manipulate people, if he's got stuff on wealthy, powerful friends, you
Yeah.
know, I just it just seems unbelievable to me that he wouldn't, you know, at least threaten to push that button, you know, if people crossed him, you know.
It was like almost it was a known like
Hmm.
weapon that he was carrying with him. I mean, the girls said that they believed that they were being recorded and
Even in the
filmed.
toilets, yeah. Like
Yeah,
even, you know, he had the, you know, he supposed he had a camera room in his New York mansion with like cameras everywhere in the bathroom, the bedrooms. I mean, like, yeah, like the idea there's no blackmail or no hint of blackmail just seems fantastical to me.
yeah, and like I said, it's very weird because I had been talking about this case very frequently before this drop from Pam Bondi that they were dropping the case, claiming there was nothing more to it. And I had, senior law enforcement official telling me, yeah, we have photo footage, video documents. We have more. There's more. There is. I mean,
Yeah,
this recorded everything. Even the 2004 raid, they took out surveillance from his house. So, this just, yeah, to me, it was very eerie. The
hmm
50th birthday card brought me back to the 40th birthday. And I was like, this is textbook Glenn
yeah,
creating an atmosphere. And Jeffrey looked almost being like godlike in a way, in the way,
yeah.
because that's the one thing for people who have that kind of wealth. It's like you can have everything. You pretty much can buy most things, right? You could probably buy a lot of adult women, but what you can't have is children. And so this is something he wanted almost his friends to envy him for having this sort of access.
Bragging rights, you know, bragging rights about it, and also, you know, again, like you know, and again, while Trump has called the letter nonsense and said that it's not true and it wasn't him, you know, like this is a man who, you know, we know is prone to, as he puts it, locker room talk. You know, let's look at the infamous
Yeah.
grab him by the pussy video. You know, it's like, well, you know, okay, this is a different circumstance, but it's like it's men, you know, talking in private about, you know, not very secret things and bragging and laughing about it. You know, it's like it's locker room, boys' room, it's locker room. Like Trump has done this in the past. So although he does deny it, like he does have form with that kind of language and that kind of talk.
Yeah, he does. And that's like, I don't see how. I know that his supporters and his base want to find a reason to believe him, but this is so obvious. And by the way, this 50th birthday book, which is kind of actually normal, that the 50th birthday book is a normal thing. What's in it is
Yeah.
abnormal. And there's others that wrote like Les Wexner, and this was Epstein's other benefactor, you could say, his client. And he wrote a picture of breasts, obviously, in it. He drew that in the book, according to the Wall Street Journal. And he's no longer on the board at Victoria's Secret. I don't understand why the DOJ would not be interested in to know why.
Hmm.
Is it just a
Yeah.
PR thing?
Yeah. I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense to me, this idea that nothing more can be released. I mean, like I've reported on there's I mean, the FBI's Epstein vault is just riddled with redactions. Like that. You know, I've personally requested records from the DHS and Department of Homeland Security about his plane coming and going from the US.
Yeah.
And there's like more than 1,500 pages of documents with, you know, flight records dating way past the ones that have already been made public. Like, why can't we see those? You know, like the exemptions say, oh, privacy, you know, personal interest, but
They always say that.
other flight records have been made public, you know, during Maxwell's trial, other cases, and they have people's names on them. Why can't we see that material? You know, it's like it's like that way we would see who was flying on Epstein's planes as recently as like his final flight's on there, but everything's redacted. The one where he flew from Paris to New York in 2019 and got arrested, that's on there, with lists of passengers, but it's all redacted. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that one of the passengers was Karina Shuliak, his Belarusian dentist girlfriend, who he'd been seeing for some years, but like that's just from reporting from other people. But that in itself just seems mind-boggling to me. Why can't we make those records public?
Well,
And
are these Larry Vasowski's flight documents that we've never
no, they're not. They are Department of Homeland Security records,
Wow.
which are official logs of him coming and going. Like there's a note of
Yeah.
who's on
You
board.
have to report. You cannot use a private plane and not report who's coming and going.
Exactly. So it's like they're called TEX reports, TECS, and it's like, how can we not see that? That's crazy. So so yeah, I just find this idea that nothing. I mean, the worst thing you can say to conspiracy theorists is there's nothing to see. Because I mean, then they're just going to think you're part of the conspiracy, and that's what's happening here.
Well, it's not even a conspiracy. I mean, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a
True.
journalist. We're just like, there's just evidence that's missing.
No, you're right.
We knocked on Larry Vasowski's door, Virginia and I, and she called him, and he hung up on her basically. And he was one of the pilots not willing to give up the flight logs, says he doesn't have them. Is that even can they do that? I don't know if they can give up their flight logs like that.
I mean, I think I think if he wanted to do it, he could do. But I mean, I guess maybe he's still under a non-disclosure agreement. Maybe he's probably just worried about prosecution. Maybe he doesn't want anything to do with it. I mean, like you, I found this story. I was going back over my notes actually from 2019, and I was working on the story a lot with the Daily Mail, and we knocked hundreds of doors, and basically pretty much everyone just slammed the door in our face. And this is like, it's radioactive. No one wants anything to do with it. And it's the same thing here.
Even after it died, we thought maybe we would get more luck, but we didn't. And that was very upsetting. Although Juan came out and talked to us. That's episode 2. You should come and listen to that one. That was really crazy.
And this is why the official records are so important, because so few people want to talk about this. So few people will publicly come out who who were there and knew it. This is why records from like DHS and Justice are crucial. Like Julie Brown's, original story, which busted this whole thing open. She did brilliant work. She talked to many victims, and it was hard work. But the vast bulk of what she did was court records. It was public stuff, and so that's why the government and the Trump administration has to release more stuff. That's the best way to find out more about this. It's so frustrating that they won't.
And when Trump says he's only releasing pertinent documents, now we know that it won't include a birthday book, right?
I mean, turkeys don't vote for Christmas, do they? If there's anything that's related to the president while he's in office that comes out, I would be flabbergasted. I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, any last thoughts while I've got you?
Release the files. I mean, it's if you got nothing to fear, like, let's see it all.
Yeah, I was actually texting with Julie K. Brown this morning. She's back in her element with this. So
whilst at the same time covering immigration and prisons in Florida, which is no small thing. So
definitely not. Well, thank you so much for your time. You woke up out of bed early, and for reaching out. That was really kind. We were both Epstein survivors, and it was in a dark time during COVID. And in a way that I always think about this, the Trump administration, they could have released files earlier. I mean, he was the one who technically the arrests happened during his term. So they could have done that then. They sort of got a pass on the story because of COVID, and it was never going to die.
No. And I agree with you. It's whilst as a journalist, I want, the facts and the truth to come out as well. I think, this has for a long time been a child sex trafficking is a huge theme among QAnon and supporters. And I think, if people believe that, I feel like one of the problems the president has is it's almost like a kind of betrayal by a prophet. It's like some people really believe this, and if you turn around and say no, we're not going to do it, it's like that's why people are upset. And if people really do believe there's something there, and some people do, then that's why they're upset. It's people have very strong feelings about this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll see what happens next. I don't think this story's going away. I don't.
Oh.
Yeah. When I get back home, I'm gonna I'm still away, but been working anyway. But I'm going to really, hit some of those old sources up again and say, like, what's, anything new?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things shake over time. People start talking.
They do.
Cheers. Thank you, Daniel.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks for everyone who signed up. And of course, Daniel's new on Substack. You should follow him. He is he's a freelance journalist. So who knows, he may want to join the Substack community and have a newsletter at some point. And you can always support me, my independent journalism, by becoming a paid subscriber. That helps me continue to keep working.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Tara Palmeri Show. I want to thank my producer, Eric Abinate, my booker, Jane Fusco, and my team of researchers, Abby Baker and Luke Radel, and my social media manager, Sarah Carney. If you like this show, please follow it, subscribe, leave a written review. I'd really appreciate that, and share it with your friends. You can get more of my independent reporting by going to tarapalmeri.com and signing up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. It'll come straight to your inbox, and if you become a paid subscriber, it's a way to support my independent journalism. I'll be back again soon.